the forgotten asset that survived for empire collapses, and it's not gold. For centuries, empires rose and fell. Their currencies vanished. Their gold was looted or lost. But this one forgotten asset outlived them all. Rome, Spain, Britain, the Soviets. It wasn't gold. It was something more fundamental. This is the real, timeless store of value they don't teach you about. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is. History shows us one brutal truth. Gold fails when empires collapse. Every single time. What if I told you the most powerful army in history, the legendary Roman legions, weren't paid in shiny gold coins? They were paid in white crystals you have in your kitchen right now. This is the brutal truth about what survives when an empire falls. Imagine a Roman centurion marching back from the brutal German frontier. He's exhausted, his sword is chipped, his sandals are worn. But his most valuable possession isn't a gold aureus coin, it's a small, heavy pouch of salt. This was his salarium, the root of our word salary. Why? Because in the real world, when supply chains break and cities burn, you can't eat gold. Rome's genius wasn't just in conquest, it was in logistics. They built the Via Salaria, the salt road, not for gold, but to transport this essential mineral. Salt preserved the food that fed their million-strong city. It cured meat for legions on campaign. It was used in medicine and rituals. While gold sat in the emperor's vault, salt was the lifeblood of the economy. Now, fast forward to the fall of Rome. In 476 AD, barbarians sack the city. The government collapses. What happens to all that imperial gold? It gets looted, melted down, or buried in hoards that wouldn't be found for centuries. It becomes useless. But salt, the knowledge of how to get it, trade it, and use it, that didn't disappear. The barbarian kingdoms that replaced Rome still needed it. The salt pans kept working. The essential asset survived the collapse of the system. Think about this today. We're obsessed with digital gold, Bitcoin, Bing, but in a real crisis, what are you going to do with a private key? The real salt of our time isn't a cryptocurrency. It's energy security, sustainable food systems, and practical knowledge. When people talk about the next store of value, they're looking at shiny screens. History screams to look at the fundamentals that keep civilization alive. Rome's forgotten lesson is this: gold buys luxury in peacetime. Salt buys survival in chaos. And survival always wins. Comment with one phrase why this would not work today. The most convincing argument against my theory gets a pinned reply. Here, as history, as greatest irony, Spain discovered mountains of silver and rivers of gold in the New World, and it utterly destroyed their empire. While they were obsessed with shiny metal, the real fortune was sailing right under their noses, hidden in dirt, seeds, and stolen pieces of paper. Picture this: 16th century Seville. Galleons unload 25,000 tons of silver and countless gold bars from Potosi in Mexico. It should make Spain the richest empire forever. Right? Dead wrong. This flood of precious metal caused the worst inflation in European history. The price revolution, the value of money, collapsed. A soldier's pay became worthless. Spanish goods became too expensive to sell. They had all the gold in the world, and it made them poor. They traded real wealth for pretty rocks. So what actually created lasting wealth from the New World? 3 things Spain ignored. 1. The maps and navigation charts. The real treasure was unt the gold on the ship. It was the logbook showing how to get back. The Spanish Padrón Real, the master map, was worth more than any galleon. Information was the ultimate asset. 2. The humble potato and tomato. The Inca gold was looted. But the Peruvian potato, it sailed to Europe and revolutionized agriculture, feeding populations and preventing famines. This biological asset created more long-term wealth than all the Aztec gold. 3. The Jacinto contracts. The right to trade slaves or run a monopoly was unphysical gold. It was a piece of paper, a contract. These financial instruments outlived the gold booms and busts. When the Spanish Empire finally crumbled, drained by endless wars funded by its hollow gold wealth, what was left? The gold was spent, stolen, or scattered. But the potato was now feeding Ireland. The astronomical data from the New World was advancing science. The tobacco and chocolate they brought back had created entirely new industries. The real assets were the things that integrated into human life and progress. Today, Spain is any country or investor obsessed with speculative assets like meme stocks or shitcoins, the digital equivalent of hoarding gold. The real forgotten potato assets. They're the boring fundamentals: supply chain data, agricultural tech, agri-tech, mineral rights for EV batteries, and patents for energy storage. Spain's fatal mistake was confusing money with wealth. Money is gold. Wealth is what feeds, powers, and informs a civilization. Don't make the 500-year-old mistake. Look past the shiny treasure chest to the seeds inside it. Everyone pictures the British Empire as red coats, tea, and chests of stolen gold. But here's the dirty secret. Gold didn't build their empire. Greece, steel, and coal did. While Spain obsessed with loot, Britain invested in something far more powerful: the tools to make tools. And when their global dominance ended, the gold reserves faded, but those tools built the modern world. Picture Lancashire, England, 1770. A man named James Hargreaves is frustrated. Hand-spinning cotton is too slow, so he builds a simple wooden frame with multiple spindles. The spinning jenny, it wasn't made of gold. It was made of common wood and cheap metal. But this unsexy machine multiplied yarn production by 80 times. It didn't just make cloth, it made geopolitical power. Britain could now undercut every textile producer on Earth. This was their real weapon: industrial productivity. The British didn't just take treasure, they laid down the physical nervous system of global control: steamships that ignored the wind, railways that moved armies in days, not months, the telegraph network that sent messages faster than any ship. These weren't financial assets listed on an exchange, they were physical leverage. They allowed a tiny island to project force and administer a quarter of the planet. The real crown jewels weren't gems in the Tower of London. They were the blueprints for locomotives and the coal mines that fed them. After World War II, the British Empire was bankrupt and broken. The gold standard abandoned. Their global currency finished. But what happened to the factories in Manchester, the shipyards in Glasgow, the railway networks in India? They didn't vanish. India still uses British-built rail lines today. The knowledge of industrial engineering didn't get repatriated. It stayed, becoming the foundation for the economies that followed. The empire's most valuable export wasn't tea or opium, it was the capacity for industrial production itself. Gold fleas, know-how sticks. Today, Britain is anyone chasing quick crypto flips or meme stock moonshots, the digital equivalent of hunting for El Dorado. The real, forgotten spinning jenny assets today are the unglamorous infrastructure of the 21st century: cloud server farms, AWS, Google Cloud, and the logistical software that runs global supply chains. These are the modern tools to make tools. They are the real leverage. Britain's lesson is eternal. Control the means of production, and you control the future. Worship the end product gold, Bitcoin, and you're just a customer. Don't buy the shiny widget. Own the factory that makes it. The Soviet Union had the world's second-largest gold reserve, a secret mountain of bullion. Yet, when it collapsed, that gold meant nothing. The real economy, the one that determined who ate and who starved, ran on a different currency: American jeans, Austrian cigarettes, and Finnish sausages. This is the ultimate proof that in a crisis, social trust trumps precious metal every single time. Imagine Moscow, 1985. A brilliant aerospace engineer, let's call him Alexei. He designs rockets. His state salary is decent. He has rubles, but rubles can't buy what's not on the empty shelves. To get real meat for his family, real medicine for his mother, he needs valuta, hard currency, or better yet, physical goods from the West. His most valuable asset, a pair of Levi's 501 jeans sent by a cousin in Brooklyn, kept unworn in a closet. Not to wear, but to use as the ultimate barter chip. One pair could trade for a month's worth of quality food on the black market. The blue jeans were worth more than his PhD. Officially, the Soviet economy was a planned marvel. Unofficially, it was a vast, intricate, black network system of favors, connections, and illegal barter. The state's gold was locked away at Cochrane, useless to citizens. The real economy functioned on 1. Cigarettes, especially Marlboro Reds, the universal, divisible, disposable currency of prisons and collapsed states. 2. Alcohol, American whiskey, French cognac, for bribing officials. 3. Western electronics, Casio calculators, Sony Walkmans, symbols of status, and key trade items. It was decentralized, adaptable, and based on real human needs and desires. In 1991, the USSR dissolved. The gold reserves were fought over by oligarchs and politicians. For the average person, that gold was a myth. Their survival depended on the networks they'd built. The engineer traded his skills for food. The grandmother sold homemade pies for clothes. The human capital skills and social bonds were the assets that carried people through. The physical manifestation of this was a bottle of Stalichnaya vodka or a pack of Kent cigarettes infinitely more liquid than any gold bar. Today's Soviet Union is our reliance on fragile centralized systems. Your bank account, your government CBDC, your crypto on a centralized exchange. The modern forgotten asset is your offline network, your practical skills, and your reputation in a community. It's the local food cooperative, the mesh communication network, the community of skilled tradespeople. In a digital crisis, your Bitcoin private key might be useless. But your neighbor who can fix a solar panel or purify water, that's the 21st century Marlboro Red. The Soviet collapse screams this warning. Don't just store value in a vault, digital or physical. Store it in people, skills, and tangible, usable goods. The strongest currency in any collapse is trust, and you can't mine that with a computer. What's our salt? The invisible gold in plain sight in 2020. While retail investors were dumping life savings into Dogecoin and GameStop, a different trade was happening behind closed doors. Bill Gates became the largest private farmland owner in America. Not gold bars, not Bitcoin, dirt. Why? Because he understands what Rome knew. When systems get fragile, you don't own the currency, you own what the currency buys. And today, our salt isn't one thing. It's three invisible layers that smart money is quietly hoarding. Think about Texas, February 2021. The power grid fails, temperatures drop. Suddenly, millionaires and mansions were trading bottles of water for firewood. Their Bitcoin portfolios useless. Their gold bars couldn't heat a room. The real asset was energy, resilience, a home generator, solar panels with batteries, a working fireplace. This is today's equivalent of Rome's aqueducts and salt roads, the physical systems that keep civilization running. While you watch crypto charts, companies like Tesla and Siemens are building the energy infrastructure of the next century. They're not mining digital coins, they're mining real-world utility. And in a crisis, utility always wins. Here, as a fact that will terrify you, 60% of the world's calories come from just 3 crops: wheat, rice, and corn. Our food system is more fragile than Rome's. But while everyone watches stock tickers, scientists are building the seed vault assets of our time. CRISP are gene editing technology, vertical farming patents, and water rights in drought-proof regions. The next potato moment, whoa, unbe discovering a new continent will be patenting a drought-resistant grain gene. The real wealth transfer isn't from fiat to crypto. It's from industrial agriculture to biotechnology. The people who control the code of life will control the 21st century's most valuable commodity, food security. Your smartphone is more valuable than a gold mine. Why? Because it produces 2 things more precious than any metal: data and attention. While you worry about inflation eroding your cash, companies like Google and Meta are building industrial-scale attention refineries. They're not just selling ads, they're harvesting and processing human focus, the scarcest resource in the digital age. This is the modern spinning jenny. It doesn't spin cotton, it spins neurochemistry. And the real factory owners aren't the day traders. They're the people who own the data centers, fiber optic cables, and algorithms that make this possible. Your gold ETF can't compete with owning a piece of the infrastructure that mines human consciousness. We're living through the greatest asset transition in history, and 99% of people are looking at the wrong map. The real forgotten assets aren't hidden in the metaverse or on a blockchain. They're in the physical world, in living systems, and in the architecture of human attention. Rome had salt. We have energy grids, genetic code, and data pipelines. The pattern never changes. What's essential for survival and control becomes the ultimate store of value. Everything else is just decoration. Stop following the herd. Imagine this. It's 2026. There's a global liquidity crisis. Banks are closed for a weekend. ATMs are empty. You're at a dinner party with 5 smart people. Each person reveals the one asset they own that's actually helped them through the crisis. The Bitcoin holder stays quiet. The gold bug gets nervous. Then someone says, I have a water purification system and the skills to maintain it. Suddenly, everyone understands real value. This isn't a dystopian fantasy. It's a stress test for your entire investment philosophy, and most portfolios would fail catastrophically. Real history is in the details. Does your family have a story about how a non-golden asset seeds, a tool, a skill saved or provided for them in hard times? Share it in 2 sentences. The best stories will be featured in a special follow-up. Forget everything Wall Street told you. Let's rebuild your assets from the ground up, using history as our guide. Your new allocation should look like this: 80% barbell assets. On one end, the most boring, physical, essential things: energy, infrastructure, ETFs like ICLN, water rights funds, agriculture, tech stocks, and yes, some physical silver. Not for apocalypse, but for systemic hedging. On the other end, high risk, high conviction bets on exponential technologies like AI robotics and quantum computing. This isn't diversification, it's strategic polarization. You're betting on both collapse and abundance at the same time. 20% resilience budget. This isn't invested, it's spent on skills, relationships, and community infrastructure. A certification in solar panel installation. A well-stocked emergency network of 10 trusted people. A workshop full of tools. This is your personal black market network, the Soviet genes in cigarettes that will have real value when digital numbers flicker. For the next 30 days, I want you to do something radical. Stop checking crypto prices. Instead, track 1. Water levels in the reservoirs that supply your city. 2. Grid stability reports from your local utility. 3. Food reserve statistics from the UNFAO. You'll discover that the most important charts in the world aren't on Bloomberg terminals. They're in geological surveys and agricultural reports. When you start thinking like a Roman governor rather than a day trader, your entire perspective shifts from how do I get rich to how do I stay alive and in control. It's happening in boardrooms of semiconductor companies, in patent offices for battery technology, and in sovereign wealth funds buying up African farmland. While you're watching this, someone just bought a water source that will be more valuable than an oil field in 10 years. The herd is chasing last decade's gold. The shepherds are acquiring tomorrow's fundamentals. Look at every asset through one question. If the system I take for granted disappears tomorrow, does this thing keep me safe, powerful, and connected? If the answer is no, you own a decoration, not an asset. History doesn't reward the crowd. It rewards those who see the pattern in the chaos. You now see the pattern. The question is, do you have the courage to act on it while everyone else is still staring at shiny objects? Every empire you just saw was built on one lie. The lie that debt can be paid. That game is now over. Your next move? Understand why. Watch next, why no country can ever pay off its debt. This was just the prologue.